Hello everyone, this is Professor Lei. Welcome back. So this video is for chapter 3, forecasting. Alright. So actually starting from this chapter, we will detailedly talk about many different topics within the operations management field. Alright. So this chapter is mainly talking about forecasting market demand. Alright. The reason that actually we start from this chapter before actually we talk about some other different topics within the operations management field is very straightforward. So basically, let's say you are a firm, right? As a firm, before you do your get ready or prepare for the market, right? You first need to at least have appropriate or acceptable forecast about the market demand of your products, right? Before you actually can do some specific capacity management or inventory management, right? So that's why actually forecasting is very, very important among all different topics that we will talk about within the operations management process. All right. So let's start to talk about some main stuff within this chapter. All right. Now, first look at the learning objectives. All right. So actually, the learning objectives of this chapter is quite straightforward. All right. So first of all, at least we need to understand why forecasting is very important in the supply chain planning procedure. All right. And further, after we notice that, then we will start to talk about many different forecasting models. All right. Including some quantitative forecasting models and some qualitative forecasting models for, especially for market demand of the products. All right. So in the second learning objective, all right, we will first look at the, first evaluate demand using different type of the quantitative forecasting models. All right. And probably we will introduce 4 or 5 different models. All right. Quantitative forecasting models. Actually, every quantitative forecasting model is quite simple model, as long as you get the key points for every model. All right, and after you get it, you can efficiently use all of them actually within many different type of the business application. That's actually very helpful in your future work or in the future research. All right, so that's the second one. And then we move to the qualitative techniques, and I will briefly talk about some concept related to qualitative forecasting models. All right, and as I said at the beginning of this class, all right, so I do require every one of you to carefully read through the read through every chapter within the textbook. All right. So I think actually the textbook already give you a very clear and also a brief description about different type of the qualitative techniques. All right. So if you still also have any question after you read it, let's say about no matter the quantitative forecast model or qualitative forecast model, okay, don't hesitate. Please let me know. All right. Okay. So the last learning objective is about to apply the collaborative techniques to forecast demand. Basically, the collaborative techniques is basically incorporating both quantitative forecasting model and the qualitative techniques simultaneously. All right, so it's like an integration between 2 different techniques. All right, so that's the main structure of this chapter. And now let's start to talk about the forecasting itself in the operations and supply chain management. All right. So as I said here, basically forecasting is a vital function and impacts every significant management decision. All right. So actually, forecasting is quite important, right? So as I just said, uh, let's say you're as a firm, you may set up the corporate strategy, you may set up the corporate goal for your firm, right? But in order to better achieve your goal, in order to let's say set up a reasonable goal for your own firm, right? You probably need to forecast basically the market demand of your product. Okay, that's actually a very essential process for you to understand where's your position within the market. Okay, and probably whether this product is good enough, whether this product is acceptable for the customers. All right. So forecasting method itself is kind of a method that can link your firm with the outside customers, right? It gives you some sense about whether and how customer evaluates your own products that's actually produced by your firm or actually services provided by your firm. All right. So that's why forecasting is quite important. All right. And more specifically, as a firm, the forecasting methods are actually used by all different, let's say, divisions or all different departments. All right. As I show here, finance and accounting department, they use the forecasting, right? Forecasting methods, actually, especially for the budgeting and the cost control, right? As I show here, budgeting and cost control incentives, right? Marketing department also need the forecasting, right? Because you really need to forecast the how the customers evaluate this, right? In order to make some key decision, in order actually for no matter product planning or personal composition, all these different stuffs, right? So forecasting is also frequently used within the marketing demand in a firm, all right? And now comes to our operations management field. The forecasting itself is also very important, right? And in the operations management field, the main focus of the forecast is normally the market demand of this product. All right, we need to at least get some sense about how many products we can sell to the market. Let's say in next year or in next season. All right, and because we need that information to properly prepare or set up the capacity management, to set up the inventory plan, right? That we need to prepare for the let's say the market season, right? The selling season, all right? So that's why the forecasting technique itself is very important for operations management field, all right? So also that's why the main topic that we will talk about within the forecasting chapter is to forecast the market demand of the specific products that we will dealing with, all right? So yeah, also as I show here, actually different activities probably will require different type of forecasting approaches. All right. So normally we will separate the forecasting technique or forecasting approaches or forecasting techniques into two different types. All right. So one is called strategy forecast. One is called technical forecast. Actually, by just looking at the definition of these two terms, you can already get a sense about, right, what is the difference between these two, right? So the strategy forecast normally will dealing with those decisions about the overall directions of your no matter operations management planning or the bigger corporate planning, all right? But the technical forecasts are more focusing on dealing with those situations or issues that is more technical, more tactical, and is basically give you some guidance about day-to-day decisions. Okay, so actually you see that the forecasting approaches, basically the strategy forecast is more focusing on the big point of view of a firm's decision, right? But the tactical forecast is more dealing with those decisions at the more kind of a little bit lower level of the operations, and in order to give you some guidance for the day-to-day operations. All right. So that's the key difference between these two different forecasts. All right. So, okay, now we already have some sense about the forecasting, but what are the different kinds of forecasting techniques that we can use? All right, especially in the operations management. All right, that may be your next question. So here, this slide will give you some sense about the types of the forecasting. All right. So as I show here, I mainly list 4 different basic types of the forecast that are very frequently used in the operations management field. So which are qualitative, all right, time series analysis, causal relationships, and also the simulation. All right. So actually, the first one is qualitative. And starting from the second one, basically the second one, third one, and also the last one, these 3 are all within the quantitative methods. All right, so no matter it's time series analysis, causal relationships, simulations, these are all different quantitative methods. All right, And within this chapter, we will mainly focus on the time series analysis and also the causal relationships for quantitative forecasting methods. All right. So about simulation, we're not talk about that in this course, but if you are interested, we can definitely discuss through it. And I think there are some other courses in our department that actually will take more time to deal with the simulation. That's also a very interesting uh, quantitative method. Okay, if you're interested, let me know. We can discuss through it. All right. But here, with this chapter, we're mainly focused on the second and third one for the quantitative methods. All right. So, uh, first of all, for time series analysis, what means by time series analysis? All right. So it may be a new term for you, but actually the key sense is quite simple, right? Basically, the underlying reasoning for time series analysis is that suppose you already have some data from the previous or from the history. All right, you as a firm, you already have some data from from your history. All right, but you want to basically use those history data in order to predict for the future. All right, that's it. So that's the essence of the time series analysis. All right, you're using the history data to the predict for the future, let's say the future market demand of your product or future event. Okay, that's the key sense of time series analysis. All right, so yeah, okay. Now, even before we actually start to talk about many different specific quantitative methods within time series analysis, all right, since at the beginning, since I said that the focus of this chapter is talking about the forecasting the market demand, right? Because we are operation management field, we're caring about market demand of the product. That's why, uh, at least for market demand itself, we have to have a better sense about what the market demand includes. All right. So that's why here I provide this slide, which is actually very important. First of all, the demand actually, market demand actually includes a lot of different aspects that will basically impact the final, let's say, the final value of the market demand. All right. So maybe let's say for a quick example, all right, as a firm, you may actually you are producing one specific product, all right, and you can see that the market demand for that specific product, let's say in August, all right, since right now we are in August, is let's say one specific number, let's say 1,000, all right, but you may wonder why the market demand of your product in this specific amount is 1,000. Okay, why is not 1,100? Why is not 900? Right? Why is it 1,000? Yeah, 1,000 accurately. All right. So the reason that actually your market demand of the specific product at specific time period, all right, the value itself is actually affected by many different reasons, or actually many different aspects. All right. So here we list at least 6 different aspects that may impact your market demand for the product. Okay, which all of them are actually very important. All right. So let me give you some sense about what are they. All right. First of all, the basis, okay, of the market demand. Let's say uh, the basis is called average demand for a period of time. All right. So um, it can be 0, it can be 500, it can be 1,000. All right. It all depends on the product characteristic and basically the time this product already introduced to the market. All right. So normally as new product, when it comes to the market, all right, you can imagine if this product is good, let's say the iPhone, right? At the beginning, when it comes to comes to the market, and then the market demand of this iPhone is increasing a lot in a very short time period, right? That's already we already see within the market, right? But after that period, all right, when the market demand is kind of stable after a period of time, all right, then basically the market demand for one specific product will not actually have too many fluctuations, all right, and then we can gradually okay, set up the average market demand value or market demand amount, all right, for that specific product. Okay, so that's why here, the average demand of certain product can be viewed as a basis value for that market demand. Okay, um, but we know that actually this is not only the ingredients that will impact the market demand. Okay, now let's look at some other ingredients. The next one is called trend. All right, so trend actually is very important because it actually also incorporates many different product characteristics, the impact of the characteristics on the market demand of this product. All right, let's say if this product is friendly, this product is new, this product is creative, right? Then the customer within the market actually more and more customer notice there is this creative product in the market, right? And then more and more people are willing to buy this due to the product characteristic of the new product characteristic. All right, then this is a good trend. All right. On the other hand, the trend may be not good. It can be bad, right? So let's say if this product already introduced to the market for a while, but it doesn't actually have the fits the customer needs, all the time. All right, and some most important, if there's some other competitors, they have some substitute product, okay, introduced into the market, and it seems to be better than your product. All right, then you can already imagine what is the trend, right? The trend of the market demand of your product will decrease gradually, right? Because the customer may switch to buy some other product instead of buying your product. Okay, so trend will be another important aspect that we need to consider when we kind of forecast the market demand for the firm. All right. So also, although actually trend itself is also affected by many different reasons. All right. But let's say the big part of it we call it, in general we call it trend. All right. Now, the third one is called seasonal element. So seasonal element is different from trend. So in order to better illustrate how the seasonal element will impact the market demand of a certain product, all right, let me give you a quick example. All right, let's say you are a producer of the T-shirt. All right, you're a producer of T-shirt. All right, do you think the market demand of the T-shirt, okay, that is in summer is the same as in the winter? Do you think so? Of course not, right? So we know probably the market demand of the T-shirt probably will be higher in summer than in the winter, right? Because probably more people will need the T-shirt in summer, right, instead of the winter. All right. So you can see that actually due to some product characteristic, all right, especially for certain type of the products, actually the seasonal element or the seasonal factor will also impact the market demand of your product. All right, that's the third aspect. The next one is called cyclical elements. All right, so cyclical elements may also impact the fluctuation of the market demand for your product. Okay, but that's the reason behind will be a little bit different from the trend or seasonal element. All right, so you can already feel that actually for trend and seasonal elements, all right, it's probably due to the internal product characteristic. All right, but the cyclical elements is different. All right, let me give you a quick example of it. All right, so especially in some special period of time, right, when economics is not good, all right, then you can see that no matter in which industry, okay, the market demand of different products may drop in some extent. Okay, in the meantime, in some good period of time, all right, when the economy goes well, then you can see that actually the industry, no matter in which industry, all right, the market demand for different products is increasing. It's simply because actually at the good time, basically the customer's purchase power is becoming better. All right, so that's basically helping illustrate how this cyclical elements will impact the market demand of the industry. All right, so this impact basically is more dealing with the outside situation or outside factor, okay, that may cause some fluctuation about your market demand forecasting. All right. Now, the next one is called random variation. All right. So random variation itself actually this idea is quite simple here, right? So let me ask you a quick question. Do you think, let's say we use some certain quantitative methods to forecast the market demand, okay? Do you think in reality there is a perfect, forecasting quantitative method that can accurately capture the forecast of the market demand of your product, okay? Do you think there is a forecast quantitative method that can provide the value, okay, that it will be exactly the same as the real market demand for certain product, okay? Obviously, no, right? So the reason behind is that no matter what forecasting methods, right? If we can capture some or even most of the information, okay, within the market, and then transform back to the mathematical way, to get a value that is approaching to the actual market demand. That's already very good. All right. So there's always some variations or fluctuations within market demand of the product that cannot be explained. Okay, always there are some parts that you cannot explain. Okay, this is corresponding to this aspect, which is called random variation. Okay, so we are trying our best to forecast the market demand as good as possible, but it doesn't mean that there's a um, forecasting quantitative method that can fully capture all of the information within the market. All right, so that's the fifth one called random variation. The autocorrelation itself, basically, the key idea is very simple, although this is a big topic. All right, so let me give you a quick sense about what means by autocorrelation. So autocorrelation basically means that basically the forecast of the market demand itself will change it gradually. Okay, it won't change very rapidly. Okay, that's very rare in the real situation. Okay, it will change gradually. Okay, sometimes it will change gradually in a short time, or it will change gradually in a longer time period. All right, so that means by autocorrelation. All right, now after we talk about all those components of the demand, all right, now let's move to the main aspect that we will try to uh, focus on, okay, among all these different components of the demand. All right, so we will actually look at the trends. All right, if we can capture some main important information, okay, within the trend, that already give us a good predictive power for forecasting market demand for your product. Okay, but before we can even do that by using some quantitative methods, let's first look at what means by trend. Okay, and what are the standard trend, um, let's say trend picture or trend features. All right, so as I said here, normally the identification of trend lines will be a common starting point when we develop the forecast. Okay, that's true. All right, and in common we may have different type of the trends. All right, so we may call them linear, S-curve, asymptotic, and exponential. Okay, let me lead you guys to go through every type of the trend one by one. All right, so first of all, let's look at the linear trend. Okay, linear trend. So okay, so let's say the x-axis. You see this plot, right? So you see that actually the x-axis, okay, can be viewed as the time or the date, the month or year. All right. The y-axis can be viewed as the market demand of your product. Okay, very simply. Now, if you look at this plot, you can see that actually when time goes on, your market demand is doing what? Is actually going up gradually, right? right, steadily. Okay, although you can see that the every dot, okay, may not fully standing at this line, but you can see that gradually and probably it will be just standing beside or which is very near to this line, right? So, and you can see that in general, this trend looks like a linear uh, relationship, right? There has a linear relationship between the time and the market demand. All right. So descriptively, we can say that okay, when the time goes on, the market demand of the product actually steadily increasing. Okay, steadily increasing. Okay. Now the second one, the S curve trend. We'll come back to linear trend in just a little bit. All right. The S curve trend. What this means? Why is called S? Because you see, this looks like an S symbol, right? Showing here. Still, the x-axis is still the time. Y-axis is still the market demand. Okay? What this pattern shows? This pattern shows that at the beginning, okay, at the beginning, actually, when time goes on, all right, your market demand changes very little. Okay? But after a while, when time goes on, actually your market demand will start to increase gradually. Okay, will increase gradually. But later on, after a while, all right, although your market demand is still increasing, but it will increasing at a decreasing rate, right? Because it actually increasing slowly and slowly. All right, this is basically capturing the S curve essence. All right, the S curve trend essence. All right. The next one is called asymptotic trend. The asymptotic trend, you see that what is the key point for asymptotic trend? The asymptotic trend basically is saying that okay, let's say when time goes on, okay. First of all, by looking at this plot, is the market demand is increasing or decreasing? Of course, it's increasing, right here. And then if I ask you the next question, all right, so you see that actually it's uh, increasing at an increasing rate or increasing at a decreasing rate. It's increasing at a decreasing rate, right? Because you see that although it's always increasing, all right, in this period of time, but you see that it will actually increasing more and more slowly, more and more slowly, okay? They call it a asymptotic trend, okay? Asymptotic trend. Now, if you look at the last one is called exponential trend, okay? Still, you see, this is as the time goes on, the market demand is still increasing, right? It's still increasing. But this time, when time goes on, the market demand increasing at an increasing rate or decreasing rate. It's increasing at an increasing rate, right? Because you see, when time goes on, actually the market demand of your product will increasing more and more fastly, right? More and more fastly. Okay, now what I just mentioned is basically just a description about every trend, right? The linear trend basically when time goes on, it is increasing gradually or steadily, right? Here it's increasing fastly at the beginning and then becomes gradually, steadily, and then becomes slowly in the end. For the asymptotic trend, it's actually you see that the market demand is increasing slowly and slowly, right? For the exponential trend, is increasing faster and faster. All right. Now, so what I just said is just a description of these four different trends. Okay. So you may have the question, all right, for these four different trends, okay, suppose you are a firm which is producing product, okay, for every different trends, all right, it may be more frequently happening at what stage for which type of the product, right? That actually is very important, all right? So let me give you some sense about it. First of all, S-curve trend, okay, can be viewed as, normally it's viewed as a whole picture of a product produced by certain, let's say, industry or produced by certain firm, all right? why we normally say S-curve trend can be viewed as a whole, trend for a product life, Why is that? Okay. First of all, let's say suppose, okay, this product is good. Okay. Suppose the customer actually really wants this product. Okay. But you still need some time for the customer to actually understand the key feature, to actually have some psychological need for certain products when it comes to the market new, right? That's why you see normally when a product comes to the market, okay, you won't actually increase the market demand very fastly because it's still, the customers or most of the customers still need time, okay, to adapt to the new features, right? So let's say at the beginning when iPhone comes to the comes to the market, right? It doesn't mean that this one is awesome. Everyone buy it immediately, right? So in the real life, when customer buy product, they don't actually do it like that way, right? Some super Apple fan, they may actually buy it very quickly right after Apple provides this product. But most people, okay, they need some time to get ready for it, right? They need some time to at least know what iPhone means, why iPhone is better than some other brands, right? It takes some time. That's why you see for the S curve, normally for a successful product, all right, for a successful product, when it just comes to the market, when it's new in the market, you may increase a little bit, but it may not increase very fastly at the beginning. Okay? But after a short period of time, right? When the customer already gets some sense about the key features, okay, about this product, or the customer already know that, oh, this is a new trend, this is a great product, then more and more people are willing to buy it. Okay? That's why here you see the market demand of this certain product will increasing fastly in the next period. Okay? But let me ask you another question. Do you think, let's say this product is good, great, okay? Do you think that the market demand of this product can increasing faster and faster and faster and faster all the time until the end? Do you think so? No, right? Because every product actually has this, life cycle, right? Although it's new right now, it may not be new 1 year later or 2 years later, right? Or even 1 month later, right? That's why at a certain period of time, it may increase faster and faster, but the increasing rate will start to decrease at a certain point. That's why if you look at this plot, you can see that actually it's not increasing very fastly at the beginning, but it becomes increasing fastly in the second stage, right? In the second stage. But after a point, right, although it's increasing, but you see that it will increase steadily or increase constantly, right? Because this is a linear line showing here, okay? And then after a certain period, okay, it may still increase, but the increasing rate will become slower and slower and slower. What that means actually in the real application, okay? Normally, when a product comes to this stage, it means that actually this product already gets certain market, let's say the market value or market split within the whole pool, all right? But you may not actually, attract some more customers, okay? Maybe just because some customers, they don't like this type of product, okay? Maybe, the customer already has, the customer who can be attracted already had this product, right? So that's why when the product comes to the market, when it comes to the mature stage, all right, normally this will be the corresponding market demand of the product, okay? So that's why I say that S-curve trend normally can be viewed as a whole trend, okay, for a successful product. Okay, it may increase not it may not increase very fastly at the beginning, but will increase very fastly when everyone knows it, right? And then at some point it was still increasing, but the increasing rate will not be fastly, but it will become steadily. And after or it may still increasing a little bit, but it will increasing slower and slower and slower. Okay, until reaching to this we call it saturated point. Saturated point. All right. So S-curve can be viewed as a whole big picture of a successful product market demand. Okay, and if you look at this curve, it actually integrate these three different trends. What's this trend? This trend actually can be viewed as the beginning stage. Okay, as the beginning stage of the S-curve trend, right? Which is called exponential trend. So the exponential trend can be viewed as the beginning stage. All right. What's this part? This is corresponding to linear trend, right? This is corresponding to linear trend. What's that? A symptotic trend. This is actually corresponding to this part. Okay, this part, the last part. So basically, exponential trend is more frequently happening when this product just comes to the market. Okay, based on the situation, this is a good product. Okay, the customer actually need it. The linear trend normally will happen at the middle stage. Okay, when actually this product already comes to the market for a while, but still many customers really want this product. All right, and lastly, for the asymptotic trend, it may actually happens at the um, mature stage of this product. All right, at the mature stage of this product, and after actually many customers already buy this product, maybe not many more additional customer will buy this product anymore, and that's why you see the trend will become like that. All right, so I detailed talk about the connection and difference among these four different trends. Hope you to give you some sense about which trend is look like a whole big picture, and which these three trends are like a certain stage of a product introduction. All right, now let's move. Now let's move to the time series analysis. Okay, after we talk about some conceptual idea related to the trends and the components of the demand. All right. So before actually we do the quantitative methods, all right. First of all, time series analysis itself can be also classified into three different types in terms of time horizon. All right. But actually, the key idea is very simple. So basically, you see that we separate into short-term, medium-term, or long-term time series analysis. Okay. Sometimes actually the corresponding quantitative methods is exactly the same, but the reason that here we classify into three different classifications is because sometimes the time series analysis may use in very detailed decision. Okay, but sometimes time series analysis may use in very overall or broad decision within the firm. That's why we separate into these three. All right. Normally, when the time series analysis is tried to use in the forecasting less than 3 months, we say this is a short-term time series analysis. All right. But if the forecasting actually is related to 3 months to 2 years, we normally say it's a medium-term time series analysis. All right. But if the forecasting is greater than 2 years, we normally call it a long-term time series analysis. Okay. So basically, the basic idea behind is very simple, right? Just in terms of time horizon. All right. Now, let's move to model selection. All right. Yeah. Here, I just give you some basic idea of when we do the time series analysis. All right. What is the proper characteristic or what is the proper standard that we need to follow in order to provide a good forecasting, by using the time series analysis. All right. First of all, as you can already imagine, right? First of all, the time horizon should be available, right? The data should be available, right? And the data that you provide needs to be accurate, right? We cannot actually use those, data which is not accurate in order to provide a very accurate prediction. That's not possible, right? We need to use very accurate data to provide some at least acceptable or accurate prediction. That's our goal. All right. All right. So also your budget, the money that you have, also will limit your forecasting techniques because some of the forecasting techniques may be very sophisticated, but it really needs more money for you to do those things, right? Because you know those forecasting for those more sophisticated forecasting method, you may need more experts to deal with, right? You may need more time to deal with, right? You may need more, sophisticated software to deal with. That's why here the budget for forecasting different forecasting methods will be different. All right. Here also there's some other factors that may impact the forecasting model, right? The degree of flexibility, whether basically this firm can react quickly for some forecast when it's inaccurate. That's actually very important, right? And also the consequences of the bad forecast. We need to basically estimate that whether this forecast itself is very important. In order to provide a better forecast, do we actually need to incur a huge cost, huge cost related to that? All right, all those different factors need to be considered before we do forecasting stuff. All right, now, yeah, okay. Starting from this slide, we will start to talk about different quantitative methods within the forecasting, market demand section. All right. So here, basically, in the first column, I list of actually, 5 different names. Basically, these 5 different names are corresponding to 5 different quantitative methods, from the simplest one to the most comprehensive one. All right, and you can see that the first one is called simple moving average. All right, the second one is called weighted moving average. Also, the next one is called exponential smoothing, and then exponential smoothing with trend, and then linear regression, and the trend and season models. We will talk about every one of them in detail, all right? But here, we just give you why we have this table here. The reason is that we want to give you some sense about in what certain circumstance we actually use the corresponding type of the forecasting method, okay? In a big point of view, the first three, at least the first three methods will be a little bit more is simpler. All right, the last two will be a little bit more sophisticated. Okay, in some circumstance, actually the simpler method is better, but in other circumstances, the more sophisticated method is better. Okay, so you may wonder why in some circumstances the simpler one is better. Simpler method at least have one advantage: it's quicker, okay, and also it will need less cost for you to do the forecasting, okay, because you see sometimes although some method is very sophisticated, but you really need some people to do all those sophisticated time. It takes time, and it actually incur more cost related to it, right? Sometimes for the firm, it's not worthwhile for them to do it. Okay, that's why in some circumstance they are more willing to just do some simple stuff. All right, as long as those simple stuff can already capture the key idea, they capture the key information within the forecast period. Why not, right? So that's why here actually for the simple methods and the comprehensive methods, they actually have played their own role within the forecasting market demand procedure. Okay. All of them are very important. All right. Now, I list some key differences here. All right. By following certain different criteria, let's say the amount of history data, the data pattern, and the forecast horizon. Please look at them and compare all these different methods. Okay. And we will start to talk about every one of them from now. All right. So we start from the most simple one. Okay, which is called simple moving average. Okay, so simple moving average, what it means? Simple moving average method for forecasting market demand. So basically, this method we forecast the market demand by just averaging a fixed number of the past periods. Suppose you're a firm, let's say you want to predict the um, let me give you an example. All right, so you are a firm. You want to predict the market demand for next year. All right, and you already have the history data of the market demand for this year, last year, until 10 years before. Okay, until 10 years before. Okay, now I may actually want to use the data that you have in order to predict, predict the market demand for next year. Okay, by using the simple moving average, how we can do it? Suppose we are trying to use the 3 years history data in order to get the forecast for the next year. We simply just add those three data, all right? Add up all those three values and divide by 3 to get the forecast for the next year. That's basically what a simple moving average means, okay? So that's why here, you see, the general equation shown here is say the forecast of your market demand in period T equals to the actual market demand in last period, okay? Last period, last 2 period, last 3 period, or even last n period, okay? It depends on the context. If I am asking you, okay, the forecast for next year depending on the previous 5 years actual data, then how many values do you need to add up on your on your numerator? All right, it should be 5, right? Because it depends on 5 data, right? And then divide by how many? Divide by 5, right? So that's here. So here actually you can see that the simple moving average itself is quite simple, okay? The equation showing here is very standard, but you need to exactly understand what each notation means, all right? The forecast for period T, the actual demand in period T minus 1, the actual demand in period T minus 2 until the end, all right? And since this would be the most simplest one, okay, the most simplest one, think about this method, all right? Do you think what is the advantage and what is the disadvantage of this simple moving average method? Also, in what circumstance the simple moving average is appropriate? In what circumstance the simple moving average is not appropriate? Think about all those questions, okay? Let me give you some sense about it. Since you directly use a few data, you add all them up, divide by n, all right? Basically, you give the same weight for all of those data, right? You look all those data exactly the same. That's why you add all them up directly and divide by 3, okay? You put the same weight for every data. Basically, when you do this forecasting by following this way, you're assuming that basically the market product of the previous period are equally important, right? It's kind of equally important. So this is assuming that basically if the market demand for this certain product, all right, is very stable in the previous time, then you can use this simple moving average method very efficiently and properly. Otherwise, okay, let's say if the market demand of certain product is not actually moving very steadily, okay, if it's increasing rapidly, if you still use the simple moving average, it's not appropriate, okay? By assuming that actually there, because simple moving average is assuming actually we put every history data given the same weight, right? But in reality, in those cases, of course, it's not actually using the same weight because it's increasing rapidly, right? Yeah. Also, right, as I show here, the selection of the period length is very important. Okay, the longer period will provide more smoothing. The short periods will react to trends more quickly. Okay, so how many previous data we choose in order to calculate for simple moving average is also important. Okay, but I can tell you that actually in exam we will probably in all those questions will directly tell you how many data we will use for the simple moving average. Okay. To better decide, the appropriate period length, that's another question actually. In most cases, we can only, as manager, you can only guess it, right, based on your judgment. All right. Now, this is the simple moving average, and This is actually an example from the textbook. Okay. Actually, the solution is already showing the textbook. Okay. Let me use our class exercise, class example. This one is a little bit easier to understand, but you already illustrate the key point. Okay, already illustrate the key point. Now, let's use this class example to illustrate a simple moving average method. Suppose, okay, you as a firm, you already know the market demand of your product in the previous, 6 different months from January to June, okay, and you already know that actually the actual market demand in January is 16, in February is 15, until in June is 19, right? Now, my question is, using a simple 3 months moving average, okay, find the July forecast. Find the July forecast. Now, you know that we are using the simple moving average, all right? Then basically we just need to find out the corresponding real market value, right, for this, find out the specific value for this actual market demand, right? And then, most importantly, we need to figure out, okay, how many values we need, all right? Here, it's simple, right? You see that actually we just need how many? 3 months. That's it, okay? So since we are using 3 months, 3 months based on simple moving average, okay, which 3 months we should use? Which 3 months? Okay, keep in mind, we always use the most recent 3 months, okay? We always use the values from the most recent 3 months, okay? So basically, since we are trying to forecast for July, right? That's our target. We are trying to forecast for July. Then, what are the most recent 3 months? It should be April, May, and June, right? That's actually very intuitive. So you just figure out, basically, these 3 numbers are the numbers that you need to use within this simple moving average method, all right? And then, how to get the answer? Very simple. You add up all these 3 numbers, divide by 3. That's it. Okay, that's why you see solution here. It's simply just add up those 3 corresponding values and divide by 3. Okay, but the key point here is not just calculation, all right? The key point here is that you first need to figure out how many values you need to use before you do the calculation. Secondly, which 3? Okay, remember in your mind, it should be the most recent 3 values, all right? Now let's move to the second method. Actually, the second method is called weighted moving average, and it is also can be viewed as a generalized version of simple moving average. Why is that? So weighted moving average basically, why we say this is a generalized version, okay? If we get back to simple moving average, we know, as I said, all right, the simple moving average basically views all of the periods with this equal weight, right? With equal weight. But we know that actually in reality, okay, it may not be true, right? By actually viewing all of the past periods, by giving the exact same and equal weight, right? Let me ask you a question, okay? And you can actually think about it with your intuition, all right? So suppose, let's say we are trying to forecast the market for July, okay? Let's say you have 3 data points, which are from April, May, and June, okay? Normally, if you can only pick up one data, okay, one history data to get a reference, which one you will use? You will use April, the data from April, or data from May, or data from June. Normally, you will use which one? Yes, the most recent one. You will use the one which is closest to July, which is June. Okay, that's actually very intuitive, right? Because it's near to the time, it's most near to the time that we are trying to forecast. Yeah, right? That's why here we basically we are more emphasizing that specific data. Okay, transforming back to the mass point of view. All right, basically in your mind, you are basically putting more weight on that specific mass data, right? If you can only choose one data, you probably will put all of your weight on June data. But if I say you can pick up three or the three, you may put different weight, okay, on those three different data, okay. But overall, the overall weight should be 100%, okay. Then you may actually put, let's say, half of your weight, which is 50%, on the most closest data, and then put another 20% weight, let's say, yeah, sorry, let's say 30% weight on the May data, and then put another 20% weight to your April data. All right, you see that when the time is moving against the July, that specific time or that specific month, right? Your weight is becoming lower and lower. Okay, but if you add up all the three weights, it comes to 100%. That's actually very important. Okay, now suppose you give a weight for last month. Okay, you give another weight for the months before last month, or you give and also you give also another weight for the months before the last 2 months. All right, how to mathematically calculate? Okay, the equation is simply shown here. You use the weight times the corresponding actual market demand forecast. Oh, sorry, not forecast. The weight times the actual market demand in that specific period. Okay, plus the weight times the actual market demand in that specific period, period t minus 2. Okay, and continue to do like this way until this weight times the actual market demand in that specific period. But you see that's the overall weight. What this means? This is called summation symbol. It means that you add up all of the weights it shows within this equation. If we have n of w, then basically you add up all those different w. The weight should always equals to 1. The sum of it should always equal to 1. That's it. Okay? Now, choosing the weight. Actually, I already talked about it from the intuition point of view, right? So if you actually have to pick up, let's say if you have to pick up, let's say, one specific data, you most likely you will pick up the data that is nearest to the forecast that we're going to implement, right? Because you think probably the most recent data, right, will reflect information that is closest to the information that should be captured within the forecast. That's why we do that like that. All right. Now let's still use that classic example to illustrate the weighted moving average. The question itself becomes a little bit different. Here we're trying to use a weighted moving average method, all right, with weight of 0.6 for June month, 0.3 for May month, and 0.1 for April month. All right, we're trying to figure out the July forecast. Okay, first of all, by using the weighted moving average, okay, as long as you understand the key sense of it, the calculation itself will become very, very simple, right? So you see that actually we put 60%, okay? First of all, if you add up these three numbers, 0.6, 0.3, and 0.1, what is the total? It will be 1. Or equivalently, you can say 100%, right? That's the same thing. So basically, you put 60% of your weight on June data, 30% of your weight on May data, and 10% of the weight on April data. Okay, that's it. Very simple. Now, how to calculate? 0.6 times the corresponding actual market value for June. What is that? 19. Okay, 0.6 times 19 plus 0.3, because there's 30% for May. What is May actual market demand? 20. That's why times 20. Same fashion, you add up the 0.1 times 16, which is shown here. Finally, the result will be 19. Okay, so that's it. Very simple. You see here, the weighted average. That's why weighted average method is kind of a generalized version for compared to the simple moving average. Okay. If you have any question, let me know.